Can I turn it off?
And we're back. Hold on. Our timer just went off for 8 minutes, so
It's all foggy.
it's fogged up. That's fine. We want it to be nice and warm. So Catherine's going to turn that off. And yeah, I'm going to take off the lid. Okay, I'm going to have Catherine. Okay, so this is what it's looking like. I'm guessing just from looking at it,
smells so good.
that the gluten has not quite developed yet. So I'm going to have you hold that phone for just a second. And I'm going to show you how to check and see if gluten has developed. What you're going to do is you're going to grab off a piece of dough.
Sorry if I jiggle the
Doesn't
camera.
really matter. Now it's going to be, for this particular dough, it's pretty sticky. I could add more flour if I want to, but I'm probably not going to. So what I want to do is I want to spread it apart and see if I can make it really thin before it breaks. I want mine to be, that's pretty good. Why are you moving? There we go.
Sorry, I'm not
So
trying to.
if it's thin enough that you can see through it, it's called the window pane test. Before it breaks apart, then it's pretty good. I will probably let mine go for like another minute maybe. Now, here's the thing. You don't want to add more flour to this, even if it's really sticky, unless you absolutely have to. This is gonna be kind of a sticky dough,
Sorry.
and that'll be okay. We will be okay. So I'm gonna turn it on for maybe another minute. We're just gonna let it go for a second.
Can I put this back?
Yeah, you can put it back.
Oh, goodness. I did worse than you.
There you go.
Not that they can hear anything. Mom! It smells so good.
So it is starting to stick to the sides just a little bit, but
Because it smells so good.
it'll be okay.
I want to try it.
We do not approve of tasting bread dough.
You have to go off your hands. But Mom, do you think we can do the other bread after later today?
Maybe. We'll see. All right, we're gonna try it again. We're gonna pull off another piece.
I'll bring it.
Yeah, I'll just bring it over here. And we're going to stretch it out again. So, it has developed enough that it's letting us pull it like a window pane before it breaks, right? So you can see light through it. It's not breaking immediately. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna make us some. I could probably go a little bit longer, but I'm not going to. And this dough, this batch seems a little stickier than some of my others, but not a ton. So I'm gonna rinse my hands off really fast. They're gonna get sticky again, don't you worry.
I'm just going to sit here and smell it.
Catherine's gonna sit and smell it for you.
It smells
Now,
good.
we're gonna show you our way of doing bread.
What's our way of doing bread?
It's not everybody's way of doing bread, but I'm gonna show you. This is my tutorial, so I'll do what I want to.
Oh,
So
man.
I learned this from a friend years ago. I remember when Mom
You
did
just wiped
bread.
it on your dress.
Did I just wipe it on my dress? I didn't.
Yeah.
No, I used my apron. Okay.
No, but
So-
you went like this.
I was trying to reach my apron. So we are going to, this particular bread, we're not going to let it rise in the bowl. We're going to make it into loaves, and we're going to make it, and then we're going to let it rise. So it's a one rise bread. And we are gonna take our pans. So this is our prep work. So we're gonna take, I usually do, like I said, 2 pans and then I'll do rolls for the rest. So can you go get the dough cutter?
The dough cutter?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's a list for them.
All right, so I'm just using olive oil cooking spray. Should be right up against the side, I think.
Oh, that one?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
I don't see that. Nope, that's a pizza cutter. Oops.
It's got the white handle. Okay,
There it
so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put olive oil, not flour, because the flour won't be, you know, the flour that you already have in your dough has been incorporated, and so it's not, it's
Can I show them the
already
counter?
developed the gluten.
'Cause you
So
just
yeah,
dumped
you can be
olive oil.
camera woman, but let's
I don't
go.
know how to get
There
it.
you go. Tilt it like that. There we go.
Got a
So
puddle.
I've got a puddle of olive oil now, so I'm gonna spread this out. I might actually get more. We'll see. So I'm gonna make a big old sloppy mess here, so that my bread doesn't stick. And now once I've got it all over my hands, which I did on purpose, then I'm going to pull my bread hook out and scrape the bread, the
Is that a
dough
good-
off of that.
Is that a good angle? I mean, they got
Should
your
be.
face,
Should be fine.
got the counter. Sand.
My little tool that you don't need, but Megan got me. Yay! And now my hands have the oil on them, so they're not gonna, it's not gonna stick as much, but it's still gonna be sticking, and that's okay. We're just gonna put this all, I have to kind of muscle it out of here because it doesn't necessarily want to come out.
Man, it was much cleaner earlier.
I know. When it was actually making, you know, stirring, it was not sticking to the sides, but it does afterwards. So for this bread dough, again, not all are the same, but for this recipe, it's a sticky bread. For your whole wheat bread, you don't want it nearly as sticky. And as we work with it, it's a
I
very.
want to poke it.
And like I said, this is a little stickier than some that I've done, but not much. It's usually
It's warm.
yeah, and it's still warm from our
Milk?
mixing and from the
Milk?
warm butter and milk mixture. So I'm gonna get a little more oil, and I'm just gonna kind of make it into. Do you want to go from up top so that they can see what I'm doing?
Maybe.
So try to get so that you can see coming down this way.
Okay, I'm gonna stand on the stool.
I'm gonna put a little oil on my bread cutter, and
Oh
I'm
my
gonna make
gosh.
it into approximately
Mom, I can't see it.
thirds.
Can I flip the camera?
Yeah.
I don't think you can when doing video. I don't know.
Maybe not. Doesn't look like it. Okay. So approximately thirds. Now, yeah, that's good. So now I'm just gonna try to make this one into a sort of rectangular shape. I'm gonna roll it this way, so I want this side to be about as wide as my pan. Okay, so I want it to not be exact. Come this way a little bit.
This way?
No, well, yeah, but why don't you trade hands?
Okay. Like, I can't tell where it's pointing. Like that?
And sort of down a little more. It's getting mostly your finger. Okay,
Oh.
that's.
Oops. Okay, sorry. I can't take it.
Okay. Well, we're doing the best we can. It's not working perfectly, but
Can I
it's
pause
not on the bread at all. So put it on the bread. Where you had it before.
Okay, I'll try. Like back here?
Yeah, but point it towards the bread. There you go. Okay. So the way that I'm doing this, I'm not going to roll it with a rolling pin. I'm just doing it with my hands, obviously. With the oil, my hands are. Once you start working with it, it's really not as sticky as it looks when you're getting it out of the pan. So we want it somewhat long and skinny. That might be a little bit too long. So we'll just collapse it a little bit. We'll be fine. And then we're just gonna roll it up. Now, once I have it rolled up on the seam side where it's coming together, I'm going to drop it rather hard on the ground to kind of get that to seal. I don't know if you can see that. Touch the screen a little bit to get it to refocus. We'll touch it where the bread is in the picture.
Can't tell.
Okay, leave the picture where it was.
Like
There you
here?
go. Now touch where the bread is on the screen. There you go. Now it'll refocus. There we go. Okay, so you can tell that that's kind of resealed a little bit. Now the bread will be approximately the look of this. So if you have like a little tag over here that you don't like, you know, roll it a little bit if you want to. Try to get it pretty if you want. Now I'm gonna plop it in here, and it's gonna rise in here. Now I'm just kind of tucking edges just to make it look a little bit prettier.
Oh, my arm's getting tired.
Okay, you can put it down. Now we're gonna do the same thing
Ah,
with this one. This one might be a prettier loaf, we'll see.
it's not facing.
I don't worry terribly about how well my loaf looks, but with the olive oil, one of the main reasons for the olive oil versus flour is the gluten. You just don't want to undo what you've just done when you've developed all that beautiful gluten, you know, in your bread, making it nice and bubbly and wonderful, only to add more flour that hasn't been incorporated already into the bread. So it'll make a harder loaf. Yeah, that one does look better. Okay, you can see that edge right there, I'm gonna want to put that straight down, smack it on there, and then it seals on there pretty well. So
Mom,
there's my
the loaf is so cute.
there's my loaf. There's a little air bubble right here. I'm gonna pop it so I can see it.
It doesn't want to pop.
Doesn't want to pop. Oh, boy, that is one ornery air bubble. There we go. All right, now I'm gonna scoop up my loaf and put it in my bread pan.
I
Now,
am now hungry.
and Catherine is now hungry. So now for the rest of our dough, I have a pan over here. Now we're gonna put a cloth. Can you go get a bread cloth, Catherine? One of the white dishcloths.
Yeah.
Okay, so I like to use parchment paper when I'm cooking because one, less mess, and two, it makes things cook just really nicely. And so Catherine's covering our bread right there, and we're gonna let that sit and cook. So on this one, depending on how many rolls you want, you can cut it into the pieces. We'll go ahead and do that, and then Catherine and I are gonna roll these. Our other two loaves are fairly robust. I didn't cut them very evenly this time, so we may not have as many rolls as we normally do, but we're gonna cut it. And by the way, you don't need a bread cutter. I've done bread for I don't know how many years, and I just bought a bread cutter when?
Like a month ago when you started doing baking class with the girls
something
and they
like
couldn't
that,
cut
so.
their dough.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to get the dough somewhat similar pieces, but I'm not stressing about it too much. Add one to that one. So just depends on what size you want. I'm gonna make some pretty small ones, just for fun. You can be more exact if you want to be. I'm not.
Are these the ones that you like tuck in the bottom and
Do you think you can demonstrate it?
stuff? No.
Okay, so this is how I do. I don't know where I got this from, actually. But
Didn't you
this
say
is
the
how
same lady
I
told you?
make rolls. What?
Wasn't it the same lady that told
Maybe.
you how to roll it?
All right, so I'm going to bring this up here so you can see it. So let's see. All right, so I pick up a piece of dough like this, and then I'm going to choose a side, any side, and that's going to be my top. And I'm going to pull it down and around my finger a little bit like this. And then now we're looking at the back side, and I'm going to pinch it in, and then I'm going to pull more dough from the top and pinch it in, and more dough from the sides and pinch it in, and I'm just going to kind of work it in a little bit, and I'm stretching the top. Okay, so I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, but I'm pulling it from the top and pinching it into
Now show them the top.
the
'cause it
middle.
looks cute.
So now when I'm done, the top looks like that, and the bottom has a little pinchy spot like that. And so there you've got one, and it really doesn't take very much time at all. So then stick it on there and do the same thing. So stretch it out a little bit, pull it in, pull it in, pull it in, pull it in, pull it in. And I'm kind of pinching and pulling it in as I go around. And that just makes a real smooth top. Hey, dog, stop goofing off.
I'm not as fast as you are. Surprising.
So pulling it in, pinching it in. Sometimes I'll make a bigger, these are kind of small rolls. So sometimes you can make great big rolls if you want to. You can make any size you want. And they're gonna be just fine.
Mom, it's so cute. Boink.
It is so cute. So just keep
You
going
put it on the
until
tray.
you've got
Can't reach the tray.
the roll looking how you want it to look. And you can tell it's really not sticking to our fingers anymore. But when you first get it out, don't panic about how sticky it is. It'll work for you. Now, part of it is my fingers have a little bit of oil on them. Probably a good idea. But part of it is as it cools and it rests for just a minute, it's just not going to be as sticky. So when you're working with doughs, sometimes it will call for it to rest, and that just means to leave it alone for a few minutes. So I'm trying to make sure that you can see this. I'm going to do it kind of from the back side on this one.
Mom, like in baking class when it called for it to rest and the girls just kept playing with it?
Yep. And theirs turned out like little bricks
Yep.
because it said don't
Can you put it
overwork
back
your
on there?
dough. I don't know if you can see from what we're doing, what my fingers are doing. But basically pulling and scrunching in. So I'm taking these two fingers and pinching it in, pinching it in, pinching it in, pinching it in. And then these two are pinching it together when I get to the bottom. So I'm kind of double pinching until the top is all smooth and I like it, and then plop, down it goes. So it's just a way of making it. So if I took this and I just kind of rolled it like this, it ends up looking like this, which isn't super pretty.
Mine is sticking to my fingers.
And so it's really, it's mostly about aesthetics. Now, after I've rolled it and I don't love how it looks, I'm just going to spend a little more time pinching it in, because as I stretch it and pinch it in, it's going to make that top real smooth and pretty looking. So once you have that technique down, it really doesn't take too long to
Mom,
get it to
mine's
work.
not going. It's not working. Can you help me? It's not working.
Yep, fold it over in half.
Like this?
Mm-hmm. Yep, now do it again. There you go,
That's what
you
I
got
was
it.
doing, but it was like sticking to my fingers, but now it's not as small.
But it's working better, right? So Catherine had one that was a little bit stickier, and if you need to, just take the whole thing and just kind of fold it in half, and that'll give you a better working
Mom, it's
area.
so round.
And so that first pinch can be a big pinch if it's giving you trouble.
Bye.
You can, I have in the past put these closer together and made them almost into a pull apart. So
That was fun.
Yeah, you can do that. This is a slightly sweeter dough. So if you wanted to, and it's not super sweet, but it does have the sugar and it does have the milk and the eggs. And so it's going to be closer to something like a cinnamon roll type dough. Not super duper sweet, but a little bit sweeter. So if you wanted to, you could put melted butter and cinnamon over the top of these and make kind of a monkey bread out of them. You could do stuff like that, and it would be good. It would be yummy.
Mom, I just want to eat this.
Whereas the whole wheat bread, you probably don't want to try that. It may not taste very good.
This
Okay.
is going to be a very long video.
Now, well, we will edit and stuff. People don't have to watch the whole thing. Because it's been going for 20 minutes now.
Just this section. The other one was.
We're going to let these just sit and rise until they are about double in size. So however long that takes is how long they will rise. I will let you know when we get to that point. Anywhere, I mean, it really can take anywhere from half an hour to 2 hours to rise. Now, for your messy counter, just drip dish soap all over it, scrub it down, you'll be fine. Okay.
No, I just want to eat them. Can I?
Yeah.